Hello, everyone. Hope you're doing well. Today, we're going to talk about the TI-84 Plus CE graphing calculator that you use on the AP exams. And you can use other calculators that are very similar to this, but this is what we're going to use for this class. And this is pretty much a common calculator that you use on an AP exam. So they are kind of expensive. I think they're like $100, maybe $110. If you get them on a good discount, you can probably get them for less than that. Sometimes you can get them refurbished. They can also go down a little bit, but you got to do your due diligence and you do your research on this. So it's all a lot of good stuff that you can find. And this calculator does amazing things for any type of class that you're in with science or math. But we're going to look at the calculator and see kind of like a brief introduction to it, kind of how to do um, some some data crunching, maybe some how to kind of graph, just kind of like the basics to kind of get you familiar with this. But like I said, you have to do a lot more with this calculator, and you just have to explore with it. Maybe like 30 minutes a day or something like that. That might be too much, but the more time you spend on this device, the more you start to kind of learn the controllers. It's will be very beneficial towards you. So if you can look at the calculator, um, this is a chargeable, comes with a cord that you have to plug in, and it's a chargeable calculator. On the back side, if you can see this, there's nothing that you have to touch. On the back side, it's pretty clear. But you don't need to replace the batteries at all. You just need to make sure that you keep the cord and it's very chargeable. On top of the calculator, there's not much. On the other side of the calculator, there's not much at all. On the bottom, there's not much, but it's just pretty simple. Charge it and leave it from there. Okay, the first thing you got to understand about this is that the on button, which is here, you got to go ahead and just push on, and then here comes the screen here. And what you really want to look at, kind of maybe we can kind of zoom in here a little bit and clean this up. But you kind of need to kind of look at the screen here. And I know it's kind of blurry. I don't know why that is. But if you see, there should be like a little battery icon, and that should tell you how much battery you have. If it goes to red, you're kind of in trouble. You need to make sure that you replace it, recharge it up, and the battery should be charging. So on this one, the light's kind of dim here, but if you see this, this should have some juice to it. So that's a pretty good indicator of how the calculator is going to be operating. So you can kind of see it that way. There you go. So what we need to do is kind of explore this a little bit and just kind of see what's going on. All right, there we go. So let's explore this a little bit. So over here, you have all your buttons. So make sure you have it on. And then to turn this off, all you have to do you see how they're in blue? They're in blue like it's like a second. This is like a second initiative. So if you go up here to where it says second, if you hit second, press second, something should pop up and it should be indicator of a black icon. So let me go ahead and do this again. Hopefully you can see this as much as I possibly can show this to you. So kind of zoom in here. So if you hit this little key right there, and something should pop up, it should kind of go to a bold thing. So kind of see that? You see how that is? If you hit second, you see how it kind of goes bold? Well, now that indicates that you can use the off and or the anything in blue. If you press the green alpha, you can use anything in green. Okay, so different features, different things here. So what we're going to do is hit second, and then if I go to off, whole thing shuts off. Cool. Now I'm going to go ahead and just plug it back, hit on, and everything should kind of nicely lighten up. Now you got your number pad, your 0, 1 through 9. You got your division, multiplication, subtraction, minus sign. So be careful with these two because some students get these confused. This is minus sign. This is a negative sign. See the difference? You have entry, you have integer, you have memory here, and plus or minus. So there you go. And then maybe you want to look at the logs, natural logs, and we're going to play with some of this in a little bit here. So the first thing you might want to look at here is, kind of you're doing some number crunching. So I'm kind of put this down here. So maybe I'm gonna do 5. We kind of like do maybe like 5 times 5 or plus 3. And the calculator, or in this case, the calculator should know order of operations really well. Okay, so different kind of view here. So you can kind of see this much better. So 5 times 6 plus 3 is 33, which is good. And then if I go over here and go like, 6 plus something like that, 6 times 3, you can kind of play with that a little. Okay, so if we kind of just play with it, 6 times that, maybe minus 3, gives you some numbers. And so what can happen is that, what if I wanted to do some more number crunching? What if I was doing PEMDAS? And so maybe I was doing like, let's say 8 times 9 plus 5, and then I was going to say minus 4, and it gives me that answer there. And let's say that I don't want to put this whole thing in again. I want to take that answer and maybe add 4 to it or something like that. Well, to do this, you can do this a couple different ways, but I'm going to show you a little bit easier way. One, I can type in 108 and I can get that. Or if you take your little D-pad, this little D-pad here, and you see how if you go up on it, on the D, or go down, you see how it kind of like highlights the different kind of parts of this? So what you can do is say, what if I wanted to highlight this? See how it's highlighted? And then you're going to go ahead and hit enter. And so if I hit enter, there it is. So I have 108. Now you can type it in, or you can just go up here and do that. Now what you can do is like, okay, now I'm going to hit +4, and then I got that. So that's one way of doing this. So maybe I wanted to go up to this number, or I wanted to go up to this part right here. So I don't want to type this in. What I'm going to do is kind of highlight, and I'm going to take that where it's bold, where it's in light blue. I'm going to go ahead and hit enter. And if I hit enter, do you see how it kind of just copies the whole thing without putting it into the calculator manually? So I just went up to it, highlighted, push enter, and now I don't have to do too much more to it. Okay, and all you have to do, let's say I don't want the rest of the screen. I don't want it. So what you do, you just hit clear and hit clear and hit clear and hit clear. Do you see what's going on though? If you hit clear, if the thing is light blue, if you hit clear, that part goes away. So what if I wanted to delete the whole thing? Well, what you do is go all the way down to the very bottom and just hit clear and then hit delete. Or in this case, there you go. You just hit clear a couple times in the whole thing. So, you want to type in a couple things, maybe. Oops, say a syntax error. It's like something I pressed. So if you get one of these called a syntax error, you can either quit and just go back to the screen, or you can go to where the error was. So if I go to that, it's a comma. So I don't want a comma, so I'm just going to hit minus times 6. And so if I go back up if I just keep on going back up to all the stuff I entered a long time ago, I get to see that, okay, I don't want all this, so I'm just going to hit clear, 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 and it should clear most of the screen. What you might have to do is go down to the very bottom to where a new entry is and just hit clear, and it should clear the whole screen. So there you go. So that's the enter part that you might want to look at. In our class, or let's say you're wanting to graph. Okay, this is very important. So if I wanted to graph an equation, what I'm going to do you see how it says y equals window, zoom, trace, and graph? I'm going to go ahead, I want to graph an equation. I'm going to hit y equals. When you hit y equals, these are all your different graphs that pop up. Now, if you get another calculator, let's say you get the 84 without this extra stuff, and it's a little bit bigger calculator. It takes batteries. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but it's just a little bit bigger, but it takes batteries. It's not in color. This one actually is nicely because you spend just a little bit more money, but you get the CE version, but you get this in color, which is really nice if you want to do like maybe 4 or 5 different graphs on one feature or one screen. So let's say go ahead. I want to type in, let's say an x to the second. So I'm going to go down here to this, and you see where you have x squared, x to the -1, logarithms is what you need to do. What if I wanted just x squared? Well, you can just type in x squared. So if I hit that button, I hit, and it says x. Do you see what happened though? It just gives you a squared. It doesn't give you x squared. So you want to go back, you want to kind of go to your D-pad and kind of go back and forth. And you see what I'm doing? I'm kind of highlighting this. Now what I want to do is, I don't want that, so I'm going to hit delete. So we hit delete. Do you see what it pops up? See, the thing's missing. That means you're going to add something. What if I just wanted to delete the whole thing? Well, I go to it and I just hit clear. And the whole thing is clear. So I wanted to get x squared. Okay, do you know where the x is at? Do you see this guy right there which says x, t, theta, and n? This is for what you are doing, like what mode you are in. We'll discuss that later. If I'm graphing x squared, I'm going to go x. Do you see what happens? That's your x. What you're going to do now, you can go back to here and you can hit this, which gives you x squared. There you go. There's x squared. So now let's do this one thing at a time. So I just want to graph just x squared. Y equals x squared. Now you want to just graph it. So let's just all you have to do is hit graph. Just hit graph. Now you're seeing my screen, and my screen says, well, I can't really see what's going on. This is what we call a window problem. That means the window that we have up here, the scale is not correct. So do you see where it says window? If you hit window, do you see how all this is like your x, your y's, the scaling of the x-axis, how much it goes up on the x-axis? Look at how much it goes on the y-axis, the y-max, the scale, and it gives you all kinds of stuff. I don't want this stuff. I just want to go back to my default zoom setting. So here's what you're going to do. Do you see where it says zoom? Hit zoom. Do you see where it says zoom box, zoom in, zoom out, zoom squared? Do you see where it says Z standard? Z standard is the standard default window. So if I go down to, you can hit 6, or you can just click your D-pad and go right to it. And just all you have to do is hit enter. Now, if you hit enter, look what happens. There's your parabola, x squared, that you should be very fluent with. So that's how you would do that. Now, if you go back to your window icon, look what happens. Everything looks very symmetric. Now, you can change all this. You can make the window smaller. You can make the scale smaller or larger, depends on your data. Now, in class, we're going to play around with this a lot because we've got to make sure we know what our window looks like. So we're going to go ahead and just go back to graph, and we have this. Great. What I would like us to do now is go back to y equals. Okay, that's that. Now let's say that I want to go down and graph another equation. So all you have to do is hit the little D-pad and see how it kind of goes onto your y2, y3. These are all your different numbered graphs that you can do. So you can have up to, I think you can have up to 8 graphs. Oh, I'm sorry, you can have up to 9, you can have up to 10 graphs. But in class, we're not going to do too many. We'll probably do maybe 2 max. So we're going to go down to there. And what if I go to y2 and let's graph another function? So what if I wanted to go x? Now I want just x to the third. There is no x to the third on here. There's no x. This is x squared, but there's no x to the third. So what you're going to have to do you see this guy right there, little caret guy right there? This little caret, after you put x squared, you're going to hit this little caret. Do you see how it raises the exponent? Let me try this one more time. Let me hit delete. See how it's like in the on the level ground? If I hit that little caret, look what happens. See the exponent? You can put any exponent you want there now. And we want an x to the third. So all we're going to do is hit 3. And now, watch this. If I go to graph, there's the third. There it is. So that graph right there is your third one. Now, you're probably thinking, I don't want both graphs on there. Maybe I just want to see one graph. Go back to the y equals, and I want you to use that little D-pad. Do you see how these are bold? Like they're like solid bold? What we want you to do is go back to it. Do you see how they're highlighted? All I did is just press the little D-pad. And I can change all this too, but I'm pressing the D-pad. Do you see how that's bold? I want you to go to that, and I want you to press enter. Now, if you hit enter, watch what happens. It's not bold anymore. That means that graph is inactive. It will not show. You don't have to erase it. Maybe you want to use it later. So you don't have to erase it. So I'm not going to do that. So I'm going to leave this one not boxed. So here we go. I have my 2 graphs. If I hit graph, look at that. Only one of them shows up because the other one is not active. But what if I wanted to activate it? Well, I'm going to go back to y equals. I'm going to go over here. I'm going to press the little D-pad all the way to that. You see where that's highlighted? Now I'm going to go ahead and press enter. Do you see the boldness? And now I'm going to go to graph. Ta-da! There it is. So that's that part. Okay, what we are going to do in class is that we're going to do a couple things. So I'm going to go down to this one, and I'm going to just hit clear. So see how that one's clear? So that one's gone. I am just going to use y squared. So when we do y squared, which is a common parabola going up, when you do let's say you want to do rates of change, slope, like we do in class. And you're probably thinking, you know what, why am I seeing, I don't want to see all this down here. This is just wasted space. So what I'm going to do, before we do slope and rate of change, what if I want to kind of take this right here and just maybe get rid of that? I just want to see the graph. All you're going to do is go back to where it says window. And you're going to go down to where it says y equals -10, because -10 is the y-axis below 0, 0. And what I'm going to do is just say, you know what, I'm going to take this out and I'm going to put 0. So all I did is went to the thing and I put clear, and now I'm going to put a number. So that means what's going to happen? Look at that. That y-axis, negative y-axis, I don't want to see it. It's no longer there. And we can shorten this up too. We can make this shorter. But what we're doing in class is that we're looking for 2 points to make a slope. Well, this actually really helps you out in class because, one, it makes it more easier for you to put the information in and not do it all on paper, like write it all out. And you can make a lot of mistakes. So here's what we're going to do. Let's say that I want to find the slope between 2 points. Well, I don't want to do all this math. So here's another feature that you're going to love. Do you see where it says trace? You see where it says trace? If you hit trace, it should kind of pop up here, and there should be like a little blinking guy. Now, if you hit the left and right, look what happens. If I hit the left and right, do you see what's going on? You see that little, it's like a little fly. That fly is going further along the x-axis, but look at the y values. Look at this. Now, if you want to go a little further, let's say I want to go back. All you have to do is just press the D-pad and kind of go back. Press the D-pad, kind of go like this. You can go negative along the graph, and it gives you negative values in the output. in class, we were doing some data analysis. We were putting some numbers, and we got some terrible decimals. So here's what we get to do today. We can do this a couple different ways, but if you hit trace, and then if you go, let's say you hit trace, and now you're going to press a number. So I'm going to hit 2. So if I hit 2, once you hit trace, you have to hit trace first. If I hit a number like 2 on the square pad, 2, that's an input. But look what this is. Isn't that your equation that you're plugging stuff in? That's your input. That's going to be your output. And watch this. Just hit enter. Just hit enter and watch this. That means that output at 2 is 4. Look how easy that is. You don't have to do that by hand. Let's say that I want to do 5. So I'm going to go down here. I think you can just press 5, by the way. If you hit 5, yes, 5, and hit enter, it's 25, obviously, right? Let's say we wanted to get very close to 5. We want to get very close to 5, but not at 5. So you're going to go, let's see, remember, 4.99999. And remember doing this in your calculator manually? You have to put that in your calculator on the other part, and it just gets kind of a lot. But now if we graph it and plug it into our trace, and if you hit enter, watch what happens. There's your answer. And that's what you should get if you do it manually. So much easier. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and clear this off. So clear. I'm going to go back up here, and I'm going to take this out. Just push clear. You can get kind of creative with this. You can kind of go, okay, what if I wanted to go x to the third plus 6x squared minus 8. That's a nice cubic equation. And if you go to graph, you're going to see the graph. You'll be like, well, where's the rest of the graph? What you have to do, if you have a weird graph, if you can't see what's going on, you're going to have to fix the window. So if you go to the window, you see how the window is like this? And you can play around with this, by the way. So maybe I want to go negative 15, let's see, negative 15 on the x min. And if I hit graph, it's going to move it over, but still, you can't really see what's going on. And so you can sit here and play with the window and do some modifications. An easier way to do this is if you go back to Zoom. Go back to Zoom. And you can zoom in, zoom out, zoom decimal, zoom squared, zoom standard brings you back, zoom trig. But there's also what we call zoom fit. And that's mostly what you're going to use to kind of fit the screen as best you can. You can just press 0, or you can go down to zoom fit and then hit enter and watch what happens. It's going to take some time. And there's your graph. Now, you can sit here and say, well, wow, I could have done that maybe by the window, but you might want to kind of get an idea of what's going on. So that's up to you. Now, if I go back to window, this is what the window size you have to do. So negative 15, look at the Y min. You would have to go down to negative 2033. Look at the Y max. It's just too much. So I want you to kind of play around with the window a little bit and play around with the zoom and kind of see what's going on. And this does take some time to graph. That's why you see this little icon here. And sometimes it can get stuck. Sometimes it's just too much for this, and you can have a really terrible graph, and the calculator will take a long time thinking. All you really have to do is just kind of maybe second quit a couple times. Sometimes I would have to go down to second and off to kind of just reset this because it just takes a lot of time. Depends on the graph. The graphs get kind of bad sometimes, but in this class, I will try to keep it simple. A couple more things to kind of throw this at you here. Um, so that's kind of the graph part, and you can kind of clear that and go back to the thing. Um, if we go to, let's get out of this. So do you see where it says, what if I want to go back to the main screen? Do you see where it says second quit? If I hit second quit, it's back to that part where you can do, most of your data input. Okay, so you have to go. It's called second quit. All right, now a couple more things here. Do you see where pi is at? You can enter 3.14, or the calculator actually has it stored. So if I hit second pi, you see the pi symbol, and hit enter, it should have that stored in there. So you don't have to go 3.1415 in the manual part. You can just hit that. It has your sine, your cosine, your tangent. It has the inverses. We're going to talk about that. Another thing that you might want to come observant about, do you see where the square root is? That's the square root. So if you have to hit second and square. I want you to be very careful about this. Let's do that again. Hit second squared. Okay, a couple things. This is fantastic. Now, let's say I want to put a number here. Let's say we know what the square root of 25 is, right? Here's what happens. What if I wanted to do this? The square root of 25 plus 3. So I want to take the square root of 25, then plus 3. Well, you know that the square root of 25 is 5. Plus 3 is 8. Watch this. That's not 8. Do you see the problem? The problem is with the square root. You see how the square root said, oh, plus 3, then take the square root of that. So really, this is the square root of 28. So be very careful of this. Second square root 25. Do you see how the cursor is still under the square root? You see that right there? To get out of that, take this part right here, the D-pad, and hit over. Do you see how it closed? One more time. So you watch this. When I hit the thing over. See how it closed? One more time. Do you see how it closed? Hit plus 3. There you go. So that's one thing of caution. A lot of students mess that up because they think that, my square root, that is not the square root. I'm out of the square root. Be very careful there. Couple other things. If you go to where it says math, you see math. If you hit math, do you see all your functions here? So there's the third power. There's decimal. There's the fraction. We will play with all this in another class. Let's say that, for example, I want to do the ninth root. There's no ninth root on there. So you're going to have to hit 9. You cannot go to the square root. What you have to do, if you want to take the cube, let's see, 9 square root, you're going to hit math. After you hit 9, you're going to hit math. You're going to go down to right to number 5. Do you see what happened? That's the ninth root of 3. So you're going to have to play around with this a little bit. So hit math again and hit that. You have to hit the number first. So for example, what if I want to take the 4, and then that's going to be the fourth root of 3, of 2. That doesn't look right. Hit 4 again. Go back to math. Go down to 4 here. Oh, sorry, 5. There you go. See the difference? And then hit 2, and then that will give you that. Okay. One more thing, then I'll let you go here. If you hit math more, if you go to math again, if you go over to the different, see how absolute value is? Absolute value, GCD, LCM. If you go over to complex, conjugates, angle, absolute value, here's probability, and then fraction. So let's say you're on a fraction and maybe we went, let's see, 5 divided by 8. 5 divided by 8 is that decimal. what if I put this decimal in and I want to go back? Well, what you're going to do is that you're going to go back up there, hit enter, and then go to math and go all the way over to fraction. And I want to go to decimal, fraction to decimal. So let's see if this works. I think this will work. There you go. So I want to take the number back to the fraction. So that will be your 5/8. And all you did is just go to type in a number. So 9 divided by 8 divided by 9. You get that. Click this number, hit enter, go to math, go all the way to fraction, and then hit fraction, decimal, decimal, fraction. Well, let's figure this out here. So if I do that, go to math, that fraction, I think this worked before. Okay, I have to figure that out. You can do that, but that's just little stuff you got to look at. So now let's make sure that we understand a couple things. First off, want to make sure that battery is charged, and if it's not, you're going to get a red icon and charge it before it goes dead. The worst thing you can do is on a test, this goes bye-bye, or this thing goes down, and you don't have a calculator anymore. So just make sure you modify that. Make sure you plug stuff in. Takes about maybe 30 minutes for this whole thing to charge. Okay, so now I want to kind of exit this. So I'm going to go to second off, and the whole thing is done. Okay, so hopefully that was a little bit for you. Like I said, you have to play around with this a little bit, and then we have more to continue on when we go. All right, so see you on the next one.